Hey, yo, what is up, everybody? It is the Further Beyond podcast featuring I like to call myself the King Hitman. Sometimes I get the Prophet, every once in a while, but it got stripped from me, so it's fine. Can't go by that anymore. Then I have the GOAT man, the best co-host I could ask for in the Mr. Greg Dog. Greg, how we doing, man?
We're good. We're good. I'm fresh. What? 6 minutes ago, I finished watching episode 7, which is Collar, I believe it's called. So I'm keen to
Yeah.
get stuck into that. I don't think it's the most dense episode in terms of things to talk about, but we'll get through it nonetheless.
Yeah. This episode very, very straightforward. It was a journey episode at most, so we just had a little movement across the map a little bit. I wouldn't even call this one world building. I mean, I would just say it was just progression of story, and that's all right. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
been the most intense every episode, so that's fine. I'm not tripping. Next episode, we're gonna get into it. So let's start
Yeah.
from the top, though. With that being said, as Greg said, the title of this episode is Collar. Starts with Hibis. Finally, I mean, I was waiting. I thought that was going to be a whole episode in itself a couple weeks ago. I mean, I agreed. Like, I was like, yeah, next episode, Hibis is going to pick them up, maybe fix the ship up, maybe pick up some of them, leave some of them. Who knows? And look at us now. It took him 2 minutes to convince the group to be like, yo, get in the ship. We're going back. So it was wrapped up pretty fast. He communicates with King Kadan on the way back to the demon world. He is real straightforward. I mean, I like him. Hypus is making me laugh. He's making me giggle a little bit, man. He is, I guess, the most direct character we've had in a while. I mean, he's kind of Chaozu like, right? Like he just kind of says whatever he is thinking. Greg, what do you? It's a real quick rundown, but like we don't have much on him. How do you feel about Hyvis's personality, his vibe?
Yeah, there's not much to him. He's a bit Popo esque, I guess. But outside of that, he's just a bit of a. I don't know how much more we're going to see of him, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which is okay. I'm not. I mean, he is what he is.
I
There's a,
actually do I agree? Well, keep going.
well, I mean, not that I don't want to, but I guess what I've seen so far isn't necessarily. Uh, I'm
Yeah,
not.
he's not showing some
No, he's
invaluable
yeah.
skill. Like,
Well,
yeah.
in reverse of that, like we'll probably get into it later, but someone like Glorio, for example, who's now showing signs of what he did in the last episode a little bit more often now, and I'm like, okay, cool. We're really kind of seeing what he's all about in certain instances. Whereas with Hybus, he's a bit of a side character, and that's perfectly okay. I don't need him to be anything too crazy, but he was good for what he was, and yeah, I'm kind of happy with that. We'll see where it leads, but what do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, he's kind of like when we first got introduced to Chaozu back in Dragon Ball, it's given the same vibe. Like he's clearly very bizarre. Even as a demon, he kind of throws King Kadan off a little bit. It's
Yeah, he's
like
going
I
on a date or
understand
something.
him a little bit. He'll listen to me. Like he's not disrespectful at all. He's just more like bothered whenever he's asked to do something. But the Chaozu aspect is like I want something. It's like, all right. And I want it specifically this way. What did he say? I want a pizza with worms on it. He was like, no, I need to get back. I have a date. It's like the
Mm.
way he's saying things. I can tell even by the tone of the sub. It's like well, the Japanese dub, I should say. It's just making me laugh, man. I really like it. I think he's been a character we were seeing before he actually got introduced in the show. He was in the intro, I think. So I have a
Ah,
theory. I think he's going to be around a little bit. I think he's going to be
okay.
around a decent amount. Maybe he won't have a lot of lines, but I think he'll be hanging around, like hovering around the crew. But then we move back to the main plot with Goku and the group. Goku, this is a little joke I told you in advance that we were going to have to address because I know the Dragon Ball community loves it, man. Goku being a bad dad. We're in the ship.
Yeah, okay.
He's yeah, he's eating his little snacks. I want to say Punzi said one of these little they look like falafel balls. Like the little falafel is two
Yeah, what they say
meals.
they
Goku
were.
eats two of them. I didn't
Um,
remember the word.
it was just, I think it was like dumplings or something. It was a very simple and basic, like meal title, I guess.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll see if I can find it as we're talking, because they were in the
Oh
plane
yeah,
and I was.
Mampuku dumplings. You're right. You're exactly
Yeah,
right.
dumplings. Yeah.
So I I kind of was surprised by this next line because it's rarely addressed so directly. But Goku Ponzi's like complaining, like I just how is someone like you a full grown adult? You just display no maturity whatsoever. And she's like, how did you raise kids? You, Goku, I wasn't all that involved.
Well, I mean,
So
it's probably
we
disappointing
know.
they didn't
Go ahead. Go
elaborate.
ahead.
It's probably disappointing they didn't elaborate a bit because if you think about it, that's not
It just makes him
like
look
an
terrible. Like,
yeah, and that's what I mean because think about it, he was dead like how often? Like from
um,
speaking of Dragon Ball Z, which is
7 years automatically.
well,
Off
that
of
was
like the
Boo
Boo Saga
Saga.
jump.
Yeah, but he was
Yeah,
also dead after Raditz, which was
a
like a
year.
year. You know what I mean? So Piccolo raised Gohan when he was like what 4 or 5. So Goku's gone then. Goku comes back, pretty much battles with Vegeta, ends up busted up, gets straight into a plane, heads to Namek without Gohan. Gohan follows him over. Then they spend a bit of time together ish. But every time Gohan comes close to him, Goku gets flogged to bits anyway. So he's sitting in his recovery pod. And then he turns Super Saiyan and beats Frieza. Then gets apparently killed on the planet, but doesn't come back to Earth for a little bit anyway. Like when he says he's not
Yeah.
around, it's
So
it's
I
it's
want to
pretty
say it's
honest.
like 2.5 years by the time Gohan's what, like 9-ish.
Yeah, and it's not like they
So
get to sit down and
it's
have a
not
cup
the
of tea or
biggest.
anything.
Yeah, like he know Gohan adored his dad by that point. So it's not like they don't have a bond. It's just it's the funny little gag the community. Yeah, I knew as soon as I saw that one, I was like, yeah, we're gonna have to address that one. And so if you keep push, I mean, you just covered a good chunk of it right there. And then you get into the Android saga. They train together while they wait
Well,
for
they
the
spend a
androids over
lot
the
of
course of
time
the
in the
three
Android
years.
saga.
Yeah.
They spend a lot
Yeah,
of time together.
exactly. And so they're attached at the hip throughout most of the Android saga, except, of course, when Goku has the virus. And then Goku recovers, hyperbolic time chamber, the time they spent training with Piccolo, waiting for the androids. They fight Cell. Of course, this is now the 7 year Buu saga jump after he dies. He sacrifices himself. So it's not like the funny part is it's not like Goku's just like, I don't want to be around here. He's
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
dying for his son. He's dying for the greater cause. Like he's
He's
willing
not
to
a
do these things
deadbeat.
for Gohan. Yeah, so it's just funny, like the memes, the puns, the flips, the jokes about Goku being a bad dad in anime. I'm like, nah, you can't fit him in with like Gene or some of the other fathers in shonen anime. They are objectively bad. Like they just don't care. A lot of them don't care. But like a Minato or a Goku, it's not quite the same reasons, right?
Well, I
But
think
it's
I
just funny. I just wanted to go over it real quick. What was
yeah, well,
that?
I think on a personal level at least, like I never really read into the Goku's a bad dad thing so much because without going into
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
specifics, in my personal life, my dad was around for like half the time. He worked shift work, like away. He was a week away and then a week home kind of thing. So in my head, I was kind of like, yeah, he's just doing what he's doing. And not that I completely thought of that when I was watching Dragon Ball Z or whatever as a kid, but it always made sense to me that sometimes dads were around and some weren't because that's what mine was. And he wasn't a bad dad for it, he just had a different job, if that made sense. And I kind of see Goku fighting as his job. That's pretty much all he seems to do.
Yeah, it's more emphasized because of his dynamic with Chi Chi for sure. Her complaining constantly
Yeah,
and
yeah.
her reluctance to let her sons become like warrior type. She just wants them to be humans with scholarships or scholarly mindsets basically. But it was just a little jab I just wanted to get into real quick. We proceed with the episode. The group gets stopped by the Gendarmerie police force, Goma's police force.
Yes.
They stop them. They say, "Yo, land now!" Like it's like we're pulling you over. And they park. They search the plane. They say, "Get out!" They're throwing all their stuff out the plane. Like this is a real hostile search. Goku is in the plane. He does a little. He's like, "Yo, just it's cool. Like just step out, and then I'll be okay." They get in the plane. Next thing you know, Goku instant transmissions behind Pansy and Shin, who we're gonna address that name sooner or later.
Oh yeah.
And Pansy just was completely stunned. Like she doesn't understand the idea of ki. She's trying to like now the difference between ki and magic is becoming more apparent each episode. Do you think magic should be considered its own form of ability by the end of the series? Do you think they're gonna keep drawing that line, or do you think it's really more or less the same thing with different terminology?
For now, I think it's the same thing with different terminology. I think it's very much that kind of, magic is science we don't understand, so to speak, or magic is key we don't have
Okay.
control over, or whatever the case may be. I think that's what it is now, unless later in the series we get a magic user who the Goku, Vegeta, whoever the fight may be between or whatever, unless they can't handle it and they don't know how to, like, unlike Goku who kind of nullified that blast last episode, if for some reason in that scene Goku was like, I can't touch this lightning because it, like, I can make all the key barriers and all the defensive moves I like, but magic is just a different beast to me. I don't understand it. And likewise, if Gloria was like, I don't understand how to stop a Kamehameha, but I know how to stop my own ki blast. Like, that's when I think the differences really would start to show. Kind of almost like that Superman logic, where Superman is like invulnerable to everything except for magic and kryptonite. You know what I mean? Like, it's a specific type of energy. But for now, I think
Yeah.
it's more or less the
That's
same.
what I'm curious about.
Yeah, I'd like it to be different. I'd like it to have special properties and special uses, and it looks like it's probably more useful than Ki. I'm not sure, given what Nahare, or sorry, what Shin did to the collar there.
No, don't do that to me. Don't take that. You have enough. All right. This
Um,
week is taking enough.
but no, I'd like them to be a little bit different later in the series when we see them throw a bit more variety out there. But speaking of the magic in that scene, we saw Glorio pretty much just gloves off when it comes to
One shot.
magic, and
Yeah.
he's like, punches have lightning coming off him. He's going for it, and it was interesting to see like the more melee or up close and personal attacks having his magic embedded in them. I thought that was a really cool way to be like, yeah, no, we know what he can do now, and he's going to just keep doing it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, it was good to watch, and and
Yeah.
Shin getting the fisticuffs on and about.
Yeah, that so basically the story proceeded as they search the plane, they recognize Pansy, and they're like, I have a theory you're the person that threw that dud of a grenade and was defiant when we were collecting the gold coins from the people. And as you said, all of that happens. Emphasis on I didn't think Supreme Kai was gonna throw too many hands,
Neither did
and
I, and I'm very happy
I
he did.
like the fact, yes, I'm very happy he did it because one thing I always complained about just throughout my Dragon Ball life, right, which is my whole life, is Supreme Kai. They swear he's so powerful and he doesn't really do much. He doesn't ever take anybody down. It's not really a threatening presence. I don't really feel like, oh my gosh, can the bad guy get past Shin? It's more like, can they get past Gohan? Can they get past
Yeah,
Piccolo?
yeah,
And so we see here they're trying to make sure we still, put two and two together. Shin can handle business if he needs to. Anything light, like Shin's still on that. But with Glorio, I like that they are keeping Glorio a serious character, even in the midst of all this. Even when he's got his little moments, he's caught off guard by Goku's weirdness, right? His bizarre character. Shin, as soon as it gets to it, as soon as hands need to be thrown, Shin is out, or not Shin, I'm sorry, Glorio is out there handling whatever needs to be handled. And so this, like you said, he's using his magic. He even one shots a plane with like a lightning strike, right? That was really
it's
cool.
kind of like that force
Shin.
push. I think he used that on Boo. I think that's what he used on
Oh
Boo
yeah.
when he was
Did I
saving
say Shin?
Gohan.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Shin does he does like the force push, yeah, where the screen is blurred, distorted, and then
Yeah, yeah.
Glorio does
Oh,
a
sorry,
lightning
Gloria. Yeah,
strike that also one taps a plane. So they both handle business. Goku throws a small low key blast. The trio, the scene is more silent, right? We level down. One wait, it's been there for episodes, right? One thing is these collars that are on the entirety of the demon world, especially well in the third world. Pansy states, I don't even know if, basically I don't know if I feel safe traveling with you guys
yeah, yeah.
because
Yep.
every single time we move, they're gonna know where I'm at because they scanned my collar. And Shin asked, what? Let me look at it. Do you mind if I look at it?
No, go for it.
Scans it himself. Oh yeah, it's made out of kachin, which is the same metal that broke the Z sword in the Majin Buu saga.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
one
That
that helped
that
release the
cube.
old Kai.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so Shin is like, I might be able to break this. He breaks it pretty easily, and we get some backstory. Can you tell them what they took from me? Can you tell them the backstory, the audience, real quick, of what they took from me, Greg. I had something that I had been waiting to get confirmed for the whole series until last week, and tell them what they did to me.
Are you talking about the tree thing again?
Well, that too, but Shin, bro. It is just what
His
they
name?
changed his name to what? Yeah. Go
So
ahead,
his
bro.
real name is Nahare,
Oh my
Nahare. So
gosh.
he's from a family where the three siblings, at least we know of, is Nahare. Oh, wait, Arinsu's the eldest, isn't she? So it's Arinsu,
Yes.
then Nahare, and then Degasu. I'm not sure how many are in between or either side because again they were born from trees and whatnot. But that is his real name. I'm not sure now where Shin comes from because obviously Supreme
That's
Kai
a
is his
great question.
title.
I was waiting. Yeah.
That's what I
And
don't know. They keep calling him Shin. I looked it up, and Shin is a translation for something random. It's not necessarily like it's not like Kami, which translates to God. You know what I mean? Like it's nothing that makes sense to me in terms of like, oh, that's why they call him
oh,
that.
okay, like it's a name flip, like say Kakarot is carrot, or you can't
Yeah,
figure
yeah.
out
It's
what's
it's
the
not.
correct. Okay,
I think
okay.
there was like four words that it could directly translate to, and I don't know what the kanji specifically is for Shin to sort of tell you what it is. But the words were very innocuous. It wasn't anything being like it wasn't like holy or deity or anything
Okay.
related to his
Okay.
position. So I don't know where Shin now comes from. Um,
I
that's just
wish it would
his
go back wherever it came from. That would
yeah,
make
because if
me a
he's
lot
just Supreme
happier.
Kai and Nahare, then that makes sense to me. He's got his birth name and his title, I guess. But
Well, I
um,
meant Nahari. I can't. This Nahari thing is gonna take me a
oh
while.
right,
I'm not gonna lie, people. I'm gonna have to call him Shin. I've been waiting. I was waiting the whole series for them to confirm, like for him to straight up address his name being Shin. I thought maybe they would do it in the second world. Maybe the Glens,
yeah,
his people, his clan would just only call him Shin. They don't recognize him as Supreme Kai in terms of like he's family, right? Like he's little bro, he's a nephew, he's
yeah,
son,
yeah.
whatever. And before we even get that far, we are emphasizing the third world dynamic, which we're about to get into for a little Glorio moment. But I just feel violated. It's all right. It
Well, yeah.
happens. But
So
I have to keep calling him Shin for a little while.
when he runs into his siblings, they're going to be like, "Oh, hello, Nahare." Like that's how they're going to be.
Nahare.
We
Oh
thought they
my
were going to greet
gosh.
him by saying like, "Oh, g'day, Shin. How you going?" But no,
Yeah,
apparently it's
it's
Nahare. So
exactly it.
that is what it is. The only little nugget that I thought was maybe worth mentioning, and I'm not sure how much to read into this either, but when they were talking about the metal and how it only comes from the planet in the second demon world that the Glins originate from.
Yes.
The fact that they said that it is a planet within the second demon realm was the kind of the point of note to me, which would assume that it's maybe like a solar system at the very
Oh,
least,
I
as
didn't even
opposed to
peep.
being
Okay.
yeah, as opposed to being a land. Like I look at the third demon realm right now, and it's basically a land. I don't think there's space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You go higher than the sky, and you get greeted by the fish who goes, "Where do you want to go?" That's how I'm imagining it right now, at least. And if you go too low, you
Yeah.
just go into perpetual darkness. Like I think it is a bit of a flat Earth situation, if that makes sense. Whereas the second, he said, yeah, that metal that the collars are made out of come from the planet that the
The
Glins
Glens. Yeah,
come
go ahead.
from within the second demon realm. So I imagine then there might be even a planet Namek, I guess, an original planet Namek.
Oh, okay.
That's what
Okay.
I'm wondering
So
because I was thinking they might
I
be
could
like
see
little
that.
towns in the same sort of thing as the third world. Like there's
Yeah.
the Namek town, there's the Glind Tree town, there's a few others, but maybe it is more of a solar system type setup.
Interesting to see how we're gonna get into it because we know that. Well, I shouldn't say know that. Last week there was a segment where we spoke about how there was a real close connection between the ships that I saw near the Glen trees in that frame
I need to
and
go back and look at that. Yeah.
The Namek spaceship that was in like Dragon Ball Z, early Z,
Yeah.
when they go to Namek, the ship that Bulma uses to take Krillin and
Yeah,
Gohan to
with the
Namek,
pointy
those
feet and
ships look
the bug
really,
eyes. Yeah.
yes, yes, they look really similar. So I think it was giving traction towards the theory that the Nameks serve the Glens. I have a personal theory, a headcanon, like a full one that I went into last week. Y'all get into that if y'all want to, but that the Namecs were serving the Glens and they just didn't like being told what to do because Piccolo mentioned that in the start of the series. They're peaceful. They do not like being ordered around. And so anyway, back to the main plot. Shin Nahare, oh my gosh, breaks the collar. Pansy's ecstatic. But before Shin does that, I have to just for this episode, let me have this, please. And Glorio, she says something like, what did she say
She says,
exactly? Those
it's basically like, oh, everyone in the third world has to go get one on, or they're killed. And
yes,
in a
yes,
split second, they cut to Glorio, and he just kind of peeps over his shoulder, and that's it. As he's walking
yes.
onto the ship. There's nothing deeper than that. But there was a look, and I don't think they would have showed that without any reason to.
Yeah, this is great. I love this. This is narrative focus. So they're telling us something slight right there. I had a little theory, Arinsu is the one who distributed these collars along when it was under the reign of Demon King Deborah. I
Do they
think that
confirm that, or was that just
yeah, yeah.
Nahare's
It's
theory?
when Shin is talking about his sister, he says back when Deborah was
Oh,
Supreme
okay.
Demon King, like they have that conversation, that back and
I
forth
thought that
right
might have been
there.
my translations then. I think it said something like I would. I thought he was saying I would imagine that would be Arinsu under Deborah, like his suspicion. But if they confirmed it, they confirmed it.
Yeah, well, he says it was probably my sister. I
Yeah.
think
Okay.
that okay, I understand. So yeah, I get more what you're saying now. I took it more directly as like a statement. But yeah, so they have that, and I have a theory with that headcanon of just assuming it was a Rinsu that she broke or maybe never gave one to Glorio because Glorio is clearly in communication with her. But Glorio, I think he had one on. I think she offered him something to break it and give him more freedom.
Ooh.
And
Okay.
maybe that's when he became the more second in command, or at least he answers to her at a certain price or reward. And that is going to be something we have to get into later on, which is why when she's breaking down the explanation of the collar, he gets a little like, I don't even want to hear the rest of this conversation. And he walks back into the ship. Do
Hmm.
you think there's
I
anything to it, or do you
I
think they'll
like
just have
that
to get
because
into it
that's not
later?
how I was thinking. That's completely different to what I was thinking of actually. And before I let you know what I was kind of leaning towards, one thing I will say about Glorio is that he takes everything that's going on as seriously as it would need to, despite the fact that he's obviously got ulterior motives. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
when he's sitting down having food with everyone, he's relaxing and he's joining in conversation. When things are like a threat to all of them, it's a threat to all of them. You know what I mean? Like he's at least showing care for whether or not they're like hostages, unbeknownst to
Yeah, like he's just
themselves.
misleading them.
Yeah, who knows? But
But
he's still taking it
yeah,
seriously enough. If they need to hide Goku, they need to hide Goku. It's not there's not like, hey, actually this could benefit me if Goku gets caught or anything. It's like, well, no, I have a mission. Everyone around me needs to be safe. They're going to be safe, irrespective of what maybe my ulterior motives are. But the other thing I thought of when Glorio had his little moment of shadow, I guess. I thought maybe he might be he might have formerly been the guy to put the collars on for Arinsu. Like I
ooh,
thought he might be like
okay,
not the executioner, so to speak, but that kind of thing. Like her second in command, who she's made them, and Deborah is kind of like, yes, I approve, put these on, and Glorio is like the face of, or maybe he doesn't, maybe he wears a mask, I don't know, but he's the one applying them to the third demon realm. So he's maybe a little bit guilty himself. I'm not sure whether he's going to have like the double agent kind of crack, where maybe he decides that he's done too much bad and then he comes around and
yeah,
it's a bit of a gamma 1 and 2 almost, if that makes sense. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. We're definitely gonna have to get into it later. The series is making it more and more obvious that Glorio, he is the isolated member of the group. Like
Yes.
we're waiting to find out exactly what he's doing, and I think we'll just find out much, much later. But I like that right there.
So from
I
there,
just,
where do we go?
oh,
We
okay. And so from there, we go back on the ship. Pansy makes a little phone call like, hey, listen, I got this handled. I do this. All right. But I just got to make this phone call. Calls a real interesting looking character named
oh
Paral who needs to get them a pin code so that they can use warp somehow to get from the third demon world to the second demon world later on, like a couple episodes from now, I assume, after Goku beats the Tamagami. Parao does it, not really too complex. We then go to Boma and Hybis and the crew. They get over to the demon world. Boma, Boma being like, "Yo, it stinks over here." Piccolo is kind of staring off into the distance, real heavy. Like it's almost like he's just absorbing it. Like, when you're on personal tie, like I think this is gonna tie into Piccolo and his heritage later on. We just keep mentioning the Nameks and we keep finding little things that relate back to the Nameks, even things like Neva. He's gonna have some real, what's the word, character development, I guess, lore
Hmm.
development, whatever you guys want to view it as, and we'll find out more about Piccolo's heritage. Kadan's giving Hybis orders, ha ha ha, it's nothing serious. Get back to the main crew. They finally arrive at the Temagami. It's a really cool background. Like, this fight is about to be fire. The sun is setting. This big giant armored just tank of a creature is standing over them in place. He does not move an inch. Do you like the design of the Tamagotchi just as an aesthetic? Do you think it's what you should be going for? Do you think it looks a little goofy? Do you think
No,
it
I
like what
like it.
did you
I think it's perfectly representing what they are, and they're guards. They're like statues
Yes.
almost. You know, they. I thought they were going to be more gargoyle esque. I thought they would be less alive until they needed to be, which they kind of are. But no, I really like the design. I was interested to work out that we were kind of wrong in that the giant Dragon Ball is only like a hologram, and they actually have the real one embedded in them.
Yeah, but Goku did say it's about the size of the Namek Dragon
Yeah,
Ball.
it's
Like
still
he
a
says
big
it's a
Dragon Ball.
large Dragon
I
Ball.
thought the big
Yeah.
holographic one was the. I thought they went for
Yeah,
a
yeah,
really
I get
different
that.
looking, like giant, transparent kind of magic Dragon Ball this time around. But that wasn't the case. That's fine. No, I do like the design. I'm keen to see how we go with this guy. Honestly,
Yeah.
they seem fun. I'm not sure if they're gonna have different personalities. Like it makes
I
sense
think they
that the
will. As soon as yeah, keep going.
yeah,
This
so
you
like
just got
he's
me.
got the booming voice and the hammer. Like it would make sense to me if he was the big eccentric, big loud kind of heavy-handed kind of guardian of the Dragon Ball. Whereas maybe one of the guys with I think another one's got a sword, and what was the other? I think the other one's got a trident.
I think it
So
was
whether
a
one,
spear. Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's if the one with the trident's maybe a little bit more, I guess more way of water, like a little bit more he flows when he fights. He's a bit more calm and collected. Like I'd like to
Yeah,
see them with different
agile,
personalities.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
level-headed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just
It's
goes with the flow.
really
But
yeah, it's really fascinating because he's when they're standing in front of him just talking and having their conversation, he doesn't move a
no, dead
muscle.
silent.
Like he's it's stagnant. So I'm thinking, oh, maybe Goku has to like slap the Dragon Ball to activate him like a on button or something, or maybe they have to say a certain command word. And it's like, no, 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 just
Just tell
say
him you want to
something
fight
to
him.
him and like just address him and then say you want to fight him. And as soon as Goku's like, excuse me, hi, what?
Do you want to fight?
And he's shaking the entire village. And so I like that. It just shows you he's about to be a very powerful foe. I don't think this will be a joke of a fight, but I think, like we're
That
saying,
was the question I was
they'll
going to
have
ask you.
different
Actually,
personalities.
I was
Yeah, I
going to
think they'll
ask
have
you
different
if he
personalities.
was going to like one shot the first Guardian just for the hell of the gag.
Oof, I'd be kind of stressed. I'd be kind of
I
mad. I
yeah
like this. I like this Temagami's personality because he says he's number three. Number three, he strikes a little pose. He swings his hammer around. He
yep
strikes a
yep.
little special pose. He looks really
Ooh.
cool, right? And so it seems like maybe him and Goku are gonna have a little chatter, a little back and forth while they're fighting. But Goku says, like, bro, if he hits me with that hammer, he will end me. So I have to be aware. I think it's going to be a power versus speed type matchup. We're going to get into it. I actually, this is going to be my hardest theory. I could easily see this just not being right. I have a theory. I think next episode, Goku loses his first try. I think Goku's going to, maybe he slips up. Maybe there are rules to the fight that we don't know about yet. And Goku gets
Well,
like tossed out the ring or
I
something
think
like
you're
that.
right because
And
you
he
can
has to
give
come
up.
back.
Because giving up is fair. You know what I mean? Like that has been a thing they said. They said if you just give up before you die, so you don't die. Like if you give up, they'll let you give up. Otherwise, they'll kill you,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
Goku will give up. Um, before the end of the fight, and then
Now,
he
I
might.
don't think that would be. I can't see Goku saying the words. Well, he has given up before in a fight. Like, just all right, you
Cell.
got this one. I think it'll. Yeah, I think it'll just be. he slipped. Like gave up against Beerus too, for that matter. I
Oh yeah.
think he'll just slip or something, or he'll get he'll get knocked upside the head and get knocked out the ring. We'll see. But I wouldn't be shocked if he just lost that first round and he had to shake back. But yeah, so Goku's
Do you
like
think?
before he even speaks to the Temagami, he's like, all right, let me go grab food. Like you
Yeah.
said, Glorio during these scenes is just enjoying. He's just chilling,
Yeah, he's with him.
and
He's fully with him. Like if you
yeah.
didn't know he was sus, you wouldn't think he was sus.
Yeah, exactly. Like he doesn't say too much, but he's vibing. And so the bartender or the waiter, I should say, is like Goku, like you think you're gonna fight him? Like you these kids,
Yeah.
they're so
Yeah.
ambitious. And then he gets back, like we said, Temagami yells at Goku, shakes the whole village, and they say, I am Temagami number 3. Do you seek the Dragon Ball? You must fight me if that's the case.
And he's like, "Yep,
And
I do."
it's just I think three, like you said three, well we broke down three, and then two might be a little more level headed, and then maybe one is like the balance in between, like he's just
Yeah.
the perfect of the fighters or something like that. I mean it's intriguing. I mean, you have any thoughts on how these
Well,
fights might go, or do you have any thoughts on the difference in how they'll be besides what we've already said?
not much really. Like there's the obviously the different weapons we touched on in a previous episode. I also have a
Oh
theory.
yes, and
Yeah.
they did emphasize that. You were exactly
Yeah.
right. They were like, "Hey,
You've got a
the
stick.
weapons we use is gonna be important." Because Glorio's like, "Bro, you have to use your power pole, don't you? Like, you might as well use your
Yeah.
power pole." You're exactly right.
But yeah, there was also there was that we touched on the weapons, but there's also the theory I had going way back when they were introduced that as they like kind of going for those that are familiar with the OG Dragon Ball with Demon King Piccolo, he created these minions basically out of himself, and I kind of ran with the theory that that's basically what Never has done with these three. But as you beat them, their power and essence returns to Never, so he gets slightly more powerful as you get
Hmm.
closer to collecting all the Dragon Balls, kind of thing, and he might even be the final boss himself. I don't know. But the one thing I did want to ask is, do you think there will be do you think there's going to be much conversation during the fight? And if so, do you think the Guardians or the Tamagami or however I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but do you think there will be a separate purpose to their existence? Do you think they have information that Goku might want to use, or information that Glorio doesn't want the team to have? Things like that. Do you think there'll be much of a back and forth, or is it just going to be hand to hand? Let's kind of let's go hard.
I think it's gonna each of them is gonna give a lot of exposition to the next realm. So
Okay.
I just think based off, they're gonna meet up with Bulma and them, but I assume that each Tamagami's defeat will lead into them going to the next world, right? So he knocks this one out in this episode or the next episode, and then after that, we start looking to get into the second demon world. We'll see. I believe that each of them will be very important towards understanding more of the demon world, things that are being kept from the crew or the
Yeah. Okay.
demon realms as a whole. I think each of them clearly just the fact that he went from being a still and silent creature for they said what 20 years. He has not moved. He doesn't do anything
Hmm.
unless you challenge him. And then he went immediately into yelling. I think he'll have a little bit to talk about. I don't think they gave him a voice actor for no reason. So I think him and
Oh
Goku
yeah.
maybe
Good
they
point. Yeah.
spar a little bit. He sees Goku's pretty pure-hearted compared to the people who clearly just want greedy, I want to rule the demon world type wishes. He's gonna be like, no, like even though I have to beat you because it's my job, and that Neva arc or that Neva proposition you have, that theory would be really cool. He's just gonna be like, yo, I gotta handle business, but this guy is different than the rest, so I'll let you know something. I need you to know that when you get to my older brother, the second Tamagami, or in the
Yeah.
second world, I think they will tell us a lot about that over the course of the next episode.
Do you think? Let's just stick with the third one that we were about to see in the next episode. Do you think he makes it out alive when he's defeated, or do you think Do you think he will
I
give
think
it
he's got
up
to go, man. I think he's
because
got
the
to go.
Dragon
Yeah,
Ball's in
he's
him? You
got to
reckon?
go.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think the whole point is you truly have to. I don't think he'll just be able to pop it out of his chest. I think the whole point is it's kind of, even though we're only going to know him for one episode, it's kind of going to hurt to see his departure and to know like maybe he'll never be seen again or something like that. I think the whole point is these are going to be a memorable set of battles, and each of them
Cool.
will teach Goku something different.
Good. Well, the other thing I wanted to quickly bring up, and I'm not sure if you noticed it or picked it up, I'll touch on half of it really quickly. But basically, the Guardians of the Dragon Balls are very GT esque. and I wanted to sort of bring things back to GT and how it relates to the Daima because there's a lot of similarities. But fighting someone for the Dragon Ball, each Dragon Ball who are specifically assigned to it, is very Shadow Dragons esque. And the other thing that
Oh
was
wow, you're
GTS,
right. I didn't look at it like that.
the other thing that I noticed in this episode specifically, there was a soundtrack, and I couldn't tell you when it was, but
Bro,
there
I
was some
was yeah,
music
yeah, keep
that
going.
was straight out of the English dub of Dragon Ball GT at the very least. Like it was real like thick bass with a bit of distortion guitar going, and I was like, oh, that could have
I-
that could very
Was
much
it when Glorio shot the plane down?
maybe. I'd have to go back and rewatch and tell you the exact time, but I was listening to this going, this is surprisingly GT
Okay.
sounding the soundtrack.
Okay.
But yeah, it just came up and it made me think, and that's what made me think quickly about the Guardians of the Dragon Balls being like, oh, that's kind of Shadow Dragons ish, one assigned to each ball kind of thing, and then
Yeah.
also having them embedded into their body as well, which I didn't think was the case prior to this episode. But yeah,
Yes. So it's like you're saying in reference to the music. So me, I like Dragon. I love Dragon Ball music. Well, Z specifically, right? And GT2 is a different vibe. I'm listening. This is the first episode where I've been hearing the music, and I'm like, bro, was every episode's music this fire? Like I was listening to when Glorio shot down the plane. They had good music going. They silenced it, and then not even 3 seconds later, they started playing a different track, and the intensity went up really
mm.
fast. So the turns right there, I was like, that's. I'm not like the most avid OST listener or the most
Nah,
avid
neither am
back
I. But
BGM listener, but this was like really, really cool. Like that was tough. So I want to see how many iconic tracks maybe Daima will have by the end of it all.
well, I think that speaks to a point that we've brought up probably every second episode at the very least of like we keep talking about how visually good this series has been so far and consistent, and even in the low moments where it doesn't need to look its absolute best, it still looks very, very good. You know what I mean? It's got a little bit of style and substance, and I think we've probably been remiss in mentioning the music in the same kind of light, to be like, no, they're actually really directing. What would you call it? I guess it would be the composer. Whoever the composer is
Yeah,
directing the music to come in and out at certain points and to invoke certain thoughts and feelings and all the rest relative to
yeah,
what's going on. I think they've done a fantastic job of that as well as that. So it's not only hitting things visually, it's hitting things audibly, and then we've also mentioned the narrative a lot as well. And I think they're still hitting the mark very well on those as well.
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that was like I said, wasn't the craziest episode, but it was to get us from place to place, and I've loved every episode so far. I don't have any big issues. I know people want more intensity, but I'm having fun with the story as it is. That is this week's Dragon Ball Daima podcast, the Further Beyond podcast, the best pod in the Dragon Ball business. I'm just saying. But with that being said, Greg, do you have anywhere they can find you at? Do you have anywhere they can find us at? And you gotta tell them to little like and subscribe. You gotta throw that in there. So go ahead, go ahead.
Well, right on cue. Obviously, like and subscribe and share around with your mates. If you're watching this in a crew, obviously see if you can get a few other people on board and see if you agree or disagree. I want to hear all about it, especially your theories. We get a bit way out with our theories. I want to hear if we're too far off the mark in your eyes, or whether you've got anything kind of wilder for us to latch our teeth into and talk about. I'd love to talk about other people's theories on this. But where you can find me specifically, I'll be honest, just the comment section of these videos. And I have a Discord as well, but the comment section of the videos is probably my most active at the moment. And King Hitman, they can find you, at least from what I believe, on Discord, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. I think you have Instagram as well. Anywhere else that I've
Yeah.
missed?
Shoot, those are you hit more than I would have hit. So you can
Yeah.
find me in all of those places, and I will make sure if I do see it, of course, I'll get back to you. Just let us know your thoughts. Really cool, man. Another dope episode. It is the Young King Hitman and the Mr. Greg Daw, man. We are off this.
Thanks, guys. Catch you later. Bye now.